Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate all of you so very much. Today we are doing the next installment in our palette roulette series, in which I let an app choose a palette for me. I utilize it throughout the week. I come back to you, I tell you about my experiences with that palette, talk to you about the palette, show you some swatches and some pictures of what I was able to create with the palette, and then we choose a new one. With that being said, today's palette is this one by Viseart. It is the Viseart 04 Dark Mattes, and as you guys can see, it is a pretty plain Jane palette, right? This palette comes in at 4.5 stars on Sephora with 710 reviews. It comes in at 4.5 stars on Beautylish with 179 reviews, and it comes in at 4.6 stars on Beauty Bay with 29 reviews. I think it's pretty consistent across the board. This is a 4.5 to 4.6 star rating palette. I would say that I would probably rank it right up there as well. As you can tell, the pigmentation is spectacular. So here's the downfall. This palette is $80. This palette is $80, and as you can see, the packaging is just a clear plastic packaging. It is backed by white or black plastic. It does just have a sticker on it saying Viseart, has its, you know, expiration time frame, the net weight of what is in this palette, and then its name and where it's distributed. The front of it is a see-through plastic top, and inside you do have 12 very dark matte shades. These are the darker mattes that you maybe wish you had all in one palette, They perform a bit like the perfect matte shadow should. There are a couple inconsistencies. I believe this dark blue one here, which is on my upper eye look today, does have a little bit grittier of a feel in the pan, and this brown one I feel like performs a lot more like a satin than the rest of them do. But these are really beautiful mattes to blend, really beautiful mattes to build. They're really beautiful. Like, I mean, there's not much I can say beyond that. The Viseart palettes are built to mix and match. They're built for pro makeup artists, these ones that come in this container anyways, which is why they have the clear plastic tops so that a makeup artist can see inside of them. All of these shades do pop out so that they can mix and match whichever, you know, color story that they want for each one of their palettes. I do have this one as well as the Sultry Muse, which is all shimmers. I would say that my favorite formula from them is definitely the matte formula. I'm not a huge fan of the Sultry Muse palette, which I have. They perform very well, don't get me wrong. They're just not as shimmery as I like them to be for a shimmer eyeshadow. Their mattes perform beautifully. As you guys can see, the pigmentation is absolutely stunning. It's stunning. I do have these two dark blues on my lid on the upper portion of my eye, and then I have this like khaki green on the lower portion of my eye. I think that every eye look that I created with this palette was a rock star eye look, honestly. What I would say is the downfall of this palette is, as you can see, they are built in like twos, right? So there's two greens, two blues, two oranges, two purples, two like red tones, two brown tones. These are all brown tones, just different variations of brown tones. But I think that as they come in pairs, the shades that they paired with each other work very well with each other, but there isn't enough color variation to do, I mean, period. I think that the two blues, if you guys can see on my eye look, they look very similar to each other. This one is supposed to be more of a purple blue, and it's definitely not. It is what is all over my lid. It is a dark blue. This one is a navy blue. It's a perfect navy blue, probably the most pristine navy blue I have in my palette collection. But it just doesn't vary enough from this blue to warrant both blues needing to be in this palette. I would say same for the oranges. I did a look, which you guys will see pictures of an orange look that actually had 5 different shadows on it. It had these 2 oranges, it had these 2 browns, and then it also had this brown. And you can't tell that I'm wearing 5 different shades from this palette on that eye look. I mean, you can see probably 2 or 3 at best. So I would say that while I love the color story, I mean, it is this grunge girl's dreams really for this color story. Perfect fall palette, which is funny because I didn't think to even pull it into my favorite fall palettes that I did later September time. I was going to say earlier this year, but hello, it's 2021 now, Donna. I forgot to pull it into my favorite palettes for fall, but this truly is a very beautiful and pretty perfect fall color story, and I forgot where I was going with that. Even though I would say that this is my perfect grunge girl dreams, I would say that this palette's downfall is that the pairs are too much alike. This color story is perfect, but I just wish there were, I would say, like, there's 2 tonal differences between this blue and this blue, or this purple and this purple, or this brown and this brown. I wish there were more like 7 or 8 tonal differences between the 2 shades so that you could tell that both shadows were on your eyes when you perform a monochromatic eye look. I think that you can tell that both of the blues are on my eyes. Believe me, I do think that you can tell that. But I do think that they're too similar to not look like one was slapped on my lid and then just blended out to a little more sheer capacity. These do perform the same with or without a primer. Today I do not have a primer on my eyes. I think my primer is bothering my eye. Granted, my eye is watering, but it's because I did put on one eye look and decided to take everything off and put a different eye look on. Not because of anything this palette did, but because I am a dumbass and don't know what I'm doing half the time with my makeup. So the second time I didn't put a primer on my eye, and this is the second time, and you guys can see the pigmentation is rockstar stellar. The blendability is still rockstar stellar. Like, it just went together pretty perfectly. So I would say these perform well with or without a primer. I think that as far as wear time and the longevity of them, I was wearing them on my face for 14 hours the other day and noticed a wee bit of fading along the like edges of the eye look, but not in the bulk of the eye look. So you know how you're really heavy-handed in the centers of your eye out to the outer sections, and then the rest of it is just kind of a blend. That blend area, I did see some fading, but not in the main portions of the eye look. So I would give these a good, 10, 12 hours before visible fading occurred, which I think is phenomenal. This palette does have some warms and some cools in it, so this is going to be a great palette for somebody who wants a taste of a little bit of everything. Somebody who maybe doesn't have, I'm a warm kid or I'm a cool kid kind of mentality. Like, anybody could wear this palette at any given moment because there are warms and cools inside of it. And like, if you want to like variate your degrees of warm and cool in your eye look, which I do sometimes, you have that in this palette. What I would say this palette is missing is some of those lighter tones, which is why I think that we could have had a 7 to 8 tonal difference between the 2 shades versus a 2 to 3 tonal difference between the 2 shades, because there really isn't a blend out shade for any of the colors in this palette. I do think that this is a palette that is probably not going to be, even though it stood alone in my palette collection over the last week for some of the looks, I did have a fun time bringing in some of my potted glitters and some of my single eyeshadows to help out the look. I think there's a purple one that you'll see that I'm wearing a Ciate potted glitter marbled metal over the top of it on the lid, and then there's another one where I'm wearing one of my Marc Jacobs sequins on the lid that is probably my favorite eye look that I've created with this palette. I did have a lot of fun putting other shadows into this, I do think this palette could stand alone in a particular person's collection, but I also think that for the majority of people, this is not going to be a standalone palette. And when you're paying $80 for a palette, I would think that just for the regular consumer, if you're paying $80 for a palette, you want it to be a standalone palette. You're definitely not going to get everything you need out of this palette. If you are a person that sets your primer, there's not a setting shade in here. If you're a person that puts a lighter tone into your brow bone in your inner corner, there's not that in here. You're not going to see that in here. Even the, you know, even the browns in here, this one, as light as it looks, is even really quite dark. So I would say this is a palette that's probably going to be in somebody's collection as an add-on to another palette that maybe doesn't have the deeper, darker tones that you want to get, and that's how it exists in my collection. At this point in time, when I pull this palette in to an eye look, it is because I want a deeper, darker tone on the outer V that I'm not getting from the palette that I'm using. With that being said, I think that these perform the way you wish your other darker mattes performed, the ones that you're finding in your palettes. These perform to that color. I would say that these also perform pretty true to pan to some extent. When paired together, though, you don't see the tonal differences. When not paired together, so if you're doing like this brown with maybe this burgundy and this blue on your eye, like, would you do that? But I think that that would be a beautiful eye look. You can definitely see these exact tones in your eye look. So I don't necessarily think that you can't see the different tones in the eye look. I just think there's not enough of a tonal difference for you to get like the variant that you want, or the what is it called, the ombre that you want with your eye look. If you're going for an you know, that dark lightest kind of mindset, you're not going to get that with this palette. You can definitely pull out an all matte eye look with this. I did. The orange one was an all matte eye look. This one is almost all matte. I do have like a ColourPop Super Shock that I have in my Shop My Stash on the inner corner, and then buffed up into the lid just a smidge bit. So for the most part, this is an all matte eye look, but this palette does play well with other items in my collection. Other single shadows, it plays well with glitters, it plays well with Super Shocks, it plays well with just about anything I put it with, which probably speaks volumes to the fact that it is a Pro MUA kind of palette, kind of mindset. You do need it to play well with other shadows. There is 0.84 ounces of product in here, so each one of these pans is 0.07 ounces of product, which is actually pretty phenomenal for a shadow pan. You don't really find that much shadow per pan in a lot of palettes. I would say the Natasha Denona, the big Natasha Denona palettes have pretty similar palette or pan sizes. I think theirs might be a smidge bit bigger, but these are very, very good size shadows. They're about twice what you're going to get in an ABH palette pan. So long story short, these are designed for Pro MUAs, like I have said. That is why the kind of chintzy packaging. All of these shadows do come out of here. Each one of these pans is there's kind of a ridge along the edge of this palette, and if you pop it up, you can pop it out, and all the pans do come out and can go into a magnetic palette. But in addition to that, you can use this to mix and match your other, you know, palettes from Viseart with this one if you have more than one. They are so consistent and so pigmented. I've heard it many times that I can make anything work on my eyes. So to some extent, I'm like, look at what it can do. And then I'm like, maybe the average person can't do this. I don't know, because I have been told I can make anything work on my eyes, even the palettes that I don't like at all. I'm able to get a really great eye look. So sometimes when I'm like, and I'm gonna declutter this at the end, everybody's like, but your eye looks were so good. It's because I struggled. I didn't struggle with this palette at all. So This will continue to live in my collection. I do like it. I do think it's one that I can pull in for those darker, deeper tones of mattes that I want to pull in. I'll remember it come fall time next year when I do my favorite fall palette collection video, because it truly is an amazing fall palette. I think it's got all the different tones that you might want for a fall palette in it. This is also designed to go anywhere on your face, so you can use it in your brows, you can use it on your cheeks, you can use it, I don't know about lips, haven't gotten there, but you can use it anywhere. So it's definitely a double duty beauty kind of makeup purchase. So that might make the $80 worth it if it's your one and done. But like I said, I don't think that this is a standalone palette, so it couldn't possibly be your one and done. So just remember that when you think about $80 for this. It is a cruelty-free and gluten-free brand, which I commend it for. It's not super powdery on your face. I didn't experience any fallout with it, so to speak. I think that like towards my inner corner I would have to wipe away some stuff, but that might be just because I got my brush too close to my eye and then my eye started watering and, you know, it smeared makeup all over my face. I didn't experience fallout with it out on my cheeks, but it is kind of powdery in the pan. With that being said, if it's powdery in the pan and not necessarily on your face, I'm totally okay with that. With that said, it is powdery in the pan. If you go in with a big fluffy brush, it's going to create more powder in the pan than it does if you go in with a more densely packed brush. I went in with a lot of densely packed brushes just because I know how to work with this formula just a little bit. It is a palette in my collection that I work with quite often. It does have those really deep dark mattes that I want it to have. I got mine on a sale. You can often find these on a sale. Right now, I know Sephora has a couple of Viseart palettes on sale. There is a website that does these for sale often. I think it's called Friends Beauty. I cannot remember. I got mine buy two get two, so I got 2 Viseart palettes and 2 Esom brushes that I still continue to use all the time when I'm applying my makeup, 2 Esom eye brushes. And this palette as well as the Sultry Muse for like $122, which was less than 2 of these palettes put together. So, and that was with tax and shipping and everything. So I'm really happy to have purchased these on a sale, but here's the hard thing. I don't believe that they're worth $80, but I do believe that they're worth $60. These are, bar none, in my collection, better than Pat McGrath mattes. I don't know that I believe that they're better than Natasha Denona mattes. I do believe I have to work a little harder with these mattes than I do with Natasha's mattes, but I do believe these are worth $60. I think the reason, though, let me go here. I think the reason why I don't believe that these are worth $80, honestly, is because of this chintzy ass packaging. I think that if the packaging was a little bit different, I could easily see paying $80 for it. With that said, they did start doing a little bit different packaging for their palettes that are geared more towards consumers, but they're still not amazing. So this is a little Viseart Petite Pro, and I think this was $40. This is what their packaging looks like on their Petite Pro. It's just a cardboard, has a mirror kind of thing, but these pan sizes are minuscule compared to these pan sizes. You guys see that? And the mirror, I mean, it's cute. It's cute. I think it was $35 or $40. I cannot remember. And then they have their Theory palettes, which I think are $45, and they have the same size pans as these. I don't know that I think that this little wraparound cardboard piece is worth the extra spin, but they did glow up their consumer-based products. I think that these are worth money. This is definitely a palette that's worth money. This is definitely a palette that I enjoy, and definitely a palette that I think that if you're into darker toned mattes, you would also enjoy. If you can get it on a sale, that would be my suggestion if you're thinking about these. So let's swatch these. These are the first 4, and like I said, the top 4 are all tones of brown. They're just different tones of brown. So this one is a warm light brown, and then we have this one, which is a deep taupe brown, and like I said, this one has a little bit different of a formula, it kind of performs a little bit more like a satin, and I think that you guys can see that it does have a little bit of a sheeniness to it. Satins are either harder to work with or easier to work with depending on the formulation. I didn't find that this one was neither harder nor easier to work with. I think it worked really well with all the other shadows. Then we have this one here, which is a rosy brown, so it's kind of got that redwood look to it. And then we have this one here, which pinky swatches are never amazing, which is kind of an orange brown. Makeup wipes made my hands raw. I don't know if you guys can see that because I've been filming a lot lately, doing a lot of swatches lately. I've been wiping my hands off with makeup wipes, which is why my makeup empties video you guys probably hopefully saw, there was 4 packs of makeup wipes. They made my hands raw. So if it does this to my hands, imagine what it's going to do to my face. I've made a conscious effort to bring my makeup eraser in here and make sure it was wet. So these are the next 4 shadows. You have your 2 purples and your 2 oranges. And we have this one here, which is a deep rosy plum. And then we have this one here, which is like an eggplant purple. And then this one, which is kind of a yellowish orange tone, and then this one, which is a like burnt orange tone. In addition to that, I'm allergic to my watch band, so I'm gonna put the greens on my wrist right here, but you guys pay no attention to my rashes. I'm allergic to everything under the sun, and it causes eczema breakouts. Yeah, eczema. So these are the last 4. You have your blues and your greens. These 2 blues are on my eye look today, as well as this green here. The first one we have here is this guy, and this is a deep like purple blue, kind of like a dark lavender. And then we have this one, which is your navy blue. And then this one, which is your like dusty dark green. And then this one I'm going to put here. This is your khaki green. I definitely think that in the swatches you can see tonal differences, but on your eye look, you guys just don't see it. I mean, you'll have to let me know because you'll get to see all the pictures. So there's several eye looks that I'm showing you. And one of the eye looks that I'm showing you has these 2 browns in it and then a lid color. And I think that that eye look you can tell the most difference in. But I think a lot of that is because I did also put that that red brown also into that eye look. So you guys will have to tell me what you think after you see the pictures. But I do think that this palette could stand to have a much larger scale on the tones of this color rather than such a small scale of the tones of this color. And granted, I understand it's the dark mattes. I get it. And you can't have like a super light orange and call it a dark matte palette, but you can create enough tonal difference that you can tell the 2 colors apart on an eye. So with that said, this would normally be the time where I would say, now we're going to pull for a new palette. And we are going to, and I do say that, but I recorded this video already one time yesterday, and for whatever reason, parts of it were so out of focus that I decided to re-record it. But I'm not going to re-pull. I am going to cut into the video that I recorded yesterday. This part is all in focus for whatever reason. So I'm going to cut to the part that I recorded yesterday. So I am about to be in completely different clothes, completely different eye look, and you will see the orange eye look in person. I just wanted to make sure you all were aware. I'm not up to any monkey business. I just don't want to re-pull. The palette that we pulled is one that I'm super excited to use. So with that being said, I'm going to switch you over to that video right now. Okay, so with that being said, let's pull for a new palette. I do have a Samsung Note 9. I do have an app that I pulled from our Play Store. It's called the Decide Now app, and it's just basically a Wheel of Fortune app that I have put all of my palettes into. And then as we utilize them through Palette Roulette, or I declutter them for whatever reason, I do pull them out of here so as not to hopefully pull 2 palettes, or to pull another time the same palette. Did I say that even right? And as we get new palettes in and I have hauled them with you guys, I do put them in here. So with that being said, to spin the wheel, we just press the little button there, the little blue button, and it spins for a new palette for us. So I am gonna do that right now. Alright, we have the Pat McGrath Lab Celestial Divinity palette. I'm so excited. This is not one that I have used yet, so I am gonna go get the palette. I will be right back. This is, I still have it in its actual box. This is what the palette looks like. Funny story. We went from all mattes to this is almost all shimmers. So this is what the palette looks like right here. And there's only three mattes in here. They're this one, and this one. With that said, I think those three mattes really do play off of every single color in this palette that we have. Pat McGrath Labs are not my favorite mattes. So I think that I will probably have to pull from some of my single shadows to get this palette 100% functional for me. We all know I don't do wholeheartedly 100% shimmer eyes. I'm not opposed to a 100% matte eye, but I don't often do 100% shimmer eyes. So this is our palette for next week. I hope that you guys are interested in coming back and watching me review this palette next week. And if you are, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified every single time I upload. I hope that you also are considering giving this video a big thumbs up. It really does help our channels out here. Or thumbs it down. You guys, engagement is engagement. If you didn't like this video, please thumbs it down or thumbs it up. If you're watching it, give me some feedback. Like, I need to know whether you like it or whether you don't. So with that said, I hope that you did like this video. I hope that you do give it a thumbs up, and I hope that you liked it or me enough that you're considering subscribing to my channel before you go. Again, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. It will notify you every single time I upload a video. I would hate for you guys to subscribe and never see me in your feed, and I do upload content several times a week, so please do hit that notification bell. With that being said, I hope that January is treating you kindly. I hope that you are all staying safe out there and that you and yours are well. I hope that you're wearing your masks when we're out in public, because even though there is a vaccine on the horizon out there, we still need to remain protectant of ourselves and our loved ones if for no other reason. Also, I hope that you all are loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye guys.